Welcome to What's Sold. This is the channel where we show you things that we've purchased locally or online and then sold them on eBay on one of our stores. We do this full time. We've been doing it for quite a while now, several years. This is how we make our living. We find things that are undervalued, we purchase them, we sell them to people who collect them or need them for various reasons. I'm going to show you some of the things we sold recently, tell you where we got them, how much we paid roughly, how long it took to sell, and give you some info if we have it for you. Let's do it. First up today, we have this necklace slash brooch. It's by a brand you may or may not be familiar with called Pennino, P-E-N-N-I-N-O. You can look at it, it's quite attractive. It's this kind of, flower, like floral thing with kind of some blue stones, almost look like light blue topaz, even though they're cut glass rhinestones. You can see up here, there's a bar in the back. You can take off the chain, wear it as a brooch, or you can wear it as a necklace. But this is what would be considered more of a boutique brand. In fact, let me go back there. I want to show you also in the back. If you were to zoom in very closely here in the middle, you would see the indication of who the maker was, and also learn that it's a gold-filled piece, which means there's a thin layer of gold on the outside of it. So there's a couple reasons why people would want this. Number one, it's attractive. Number two, it has gold on it. Number three, it's vintage and it's made by a boutique jewelry maker. I paid $3 for this at a thrift store, among other pieces of costume jewelry. It's sold at best offer for $340. So $3 expense, $340. That's pretty darn good. Keep an eye out for this. Know your boutique names of costume jewelry. Names like Carnegie and Haskell and Juliana or D&E or Shriner, Sherman. I mean, the list goes on, right? There's lots out there that you want to know. Givenchy, like this next one here. It's a French brand, I believe, but very collectible stuff. And these earrings here, actually, I was thinking they'd sell for maybe a little bit more than this. I've had other pairs by the same brand sell for $20 and $30 more, but still got 4 bids, $39. This was a $3 or $4 expense at a thrift store about an hour from me. It only took about a week, just one auction cycle. There's a lot of buyers for that brand. I see the earrings tend to go pretty well, certain ones. I looked up bracelets the other day, and for some reason, only a very particular type of bracelet of theirs sells very well. The earrings tend to go pretty well. This next piece I found for, I think it was 15 cents. And I find these oftentimes in little baskets or little trays at thrift stores up by like the checkout and sometimes other places, but they'll be in there with other things like old singles of like tie tacks or cufflinks or push pins, things like that. Little what seem to be trinkety pieces that they clearly don't believe have much value. And when you search in here, what you're going to find sometimes are things that are made of gold, things that have semi-precious or precious gemstones in them, or things that are like maybe like antique, like from the 1800s, Masonic things, stuff that have big collector bases, among other things like a Mickey Mouse pin that would actually cost you 25 cents and like one of those things you put in a quarter in or something like that, or something from McDonald's, something like that. I find them in the same places, but you can see on the back it says 1/20th 12K GF, gold filled. So this is just an old, little pin, little brooch. It's actually a service pin. So for people who worked in various types of industries, there were different ways that businesses would honor, show appreciation for their workers. This, I think, was a 10-year service award. They did 5-year, 10-year, 20, 40. I mean, I've seen all the way up to 50-year service pins of various types. Typically, the longer the period of time they worked, the more valuable it is, the better, or the more content of gold, or then the larger the stones or the more precious the stones. In this case, it's gold filled. It has a lab created sapphire, a genuine sapphire, and this is for roses. And I don't know what this company is exactly, but people collect these also. sometimes they buy them just to harvest the gold. Sometimes they buy them and they're jewelers, and they harvest the gemstones to put in new pieces of jewelry. So this cost me 15 cents. I sold it for $30. Best offer on $30. That's a really good return. So just because it looks like a pile of cheap stuff like in these baskets, just take a moment, just sort through, get an idea. If you see a few things that, you know, I've even found like little pins that came from, say, sororities or things back in like the 50s and 60s, and they're 10 karat solid gold with like pearls and different things on them. And those things will sell for over $100 sometimes, and you can sometimes get them for less than $1. This was the second of the big sale of this. This was it's a type of lapidary machine, which is for polishing and grinding down rock and minerals for various uses, but oftentimes for lapidary uses to be put into jewelry, making cabochons for jewelry. And so it's a long story, but basically we sold this item to somebody. They wanted to return it. There was this back and forth. They ended up returning it. It was completely damaged, but eBay did not refund us our money at all. So we lost $1,300. That's how much the item cost, and we lost we got an item that was not functional. So we deconstructed it and took the components and have been trying to sell those off just to make some of our money back. We sold this one for $240. The other one we sold for $299. So, you know, we got about $600 of that $1,300 back, and these two pieces, these are the most valuable components. Hopefully we'll sell a few others, but that's what happened here. I'm not excited about it. We didn't buy this initially to resell. This was just our way of having to kind of like try to make a really horrible situation just a really bad situation. But either way, it wasn't great. We've talked about this before. These are vintage eyeglasses. You can see a really interesting shape here. What is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So octagonal, shaped lenses here. Really cool though. I love it when they come with the original cases. A lot of times they'll have the name of the optometrist, even the address or phone number, and the name. Sometimes the prescription or pieces of information in there about it. So it's a cool piece of history as well as just an interesting, item itself. Oftentimes these will also have gold. Sometimes they can be solid gold. Sometimes they can have partial gold, like gold filling. This is one of those examples where the case shows who the optometrist was, and this is from Battery Park, which is in the center of downtown Asheville, near where I live. And these sold for $40. It was a pretty good sale. Probably would have been more in the $30 range had it not come with the case. But it has that information. Collectors buy these for various reasons. But we were happy to get this. I never spend more than $8 on these, because usually they sell for $25 on the low end up into the 40s, as you can see. And so for me, I don't really want to spend any more than $8. I try to stick in the $5 to $8 range. This was a brooch. Again, I paid $3 for it. I have several places that I go to that always have their brooches priced at between $1 and $3, unless they know that it's sterling silver or something like that. But this was a unique piece. I could tell it was made pretty well. Had really nice stones, several stones, and it was intact and fully. And I turn over in the back, and there's this little, almost like a swan, right here. I'll see if I can go to, there you go. And then a C for, tell me like a copyright of this. That is a Swarovski, like a Swarovski crystal sign, essentially. This little emblem here. And so that's what it is. It's a crystal pineapple, crystal inlaid pineapple brooch. Apparently, I've been told recently that people buy these, not everybody, obviously. Some people just like pineapples and or collect brooches. But there's, I guess, a movement of people who are swingers. And that apparently is, if you wear a pineapple, that's a way you can identify someone who maybe swings. So it was news to me. I actually don't even know if that's true, so don't take that from me. I'm just saying someone someone mentioned it. But this happens to be plated in 22 karat gold. I imagine that and or just the look of it has more to do with why this sold for the price. But again, $3, sold it for $75. That was a really good sale. This same place that I bought that brooch, I bought this knife, and it's a Cutco knife. Cutco is a brand that's been around for a while, but they come oftentimes in sets. I think that they have like lifetime guarantees for being, I think you send them back to them and they'll sharpen them, things like this. This one on the back actually was in pretty rough condition. It had separated a little bit, had clearly been through the dishwasher several times, which is what causes that. You can look up these blades oftentimes, the number that corresponds here, and it will tell you a particular model, or it'll give you ideas on comps for sold items, similar ones, which is what I use to determine my pricing on these. I paid $1. I always pay $1 for knives there when they have it like this. $1 turned into 34. It took me 2 weeks, but again, I'm pretty happy with that turnaround, both price-wise and time-wise. Here's another brand that you should know if you don't, Les Bernard. These are really kind of bizarre. I say bizarre. It has everything to do with your own preference. But they are very flashy, kind of modernist looking earrings, dangle earrings. Multiple components here you can see. But this was a pair of earrings, again, $3. I try to stay in that $2 or $3 range for single or pair. I would call, and if you're selling earrings online, usually if you're counting them in a lot, you would count a pair as one. So a pair of earrings or brooches or necklaces, pendants, I try to stay in the $2 to $3 range. Same thing here. Put it up for auction, $61 on 6 bids. I actually had this on a buy it now for about a month. Didn't sell higher than that. And I decided to lower the price to about, I can't remember where I started it at, to be honest with you. But it ended up at $61, and I was happy with that. Okay, kind of moving past the jewelry for a minute. We've done a lot of that. It is a lot of what we sell. They're small. They're easy to track down. Oftentimes we can find good values in those pieces for small amounts of money. But this was a cool piece. And again, it's interesting that I'm showcasing a couple of pieces that are focused on the Asheville area, which is the area that I live in Western North Carolina. But you can see this is a kind of a custom-made local business that made this tool, and it says Asheville something, I can't quite tell, something and fixture company. And if I did some research, I could probably figure out. I actually refinished this. It was heavily rusted when I bought it. I only paid about $5 for it, but I thought it would be interesting to somebody. So I don't always refinish pieces, but I knew that it would look much more attractive if I did on this. But it's basically like a kind of like a scraper slash something you would, maybe a spackle knife, something like that. And I held on to this for a long time. I had it in an antique store locally. It didn't sell there. Usually things that are from, towns, old, that are branded by those old businesses sell much better. But I guess this just doesn't have that much of a market. So $5 holding on to it for 2 or 3 months and only getting 15 off of it, I probably wouldn't do this again. This one fooled me. Maybe it was a fluke, but there it is. I got to show you it wasn't exactly a failure per se, because I did make money on it, but the amount of money I made and the time I floated that probably wasn't worth it. Just being honest. Now, old vintage chisels can sell for gobs of money if they have wooden handles, if they're well made. They can be really good. And this was just a very tiny example. I paid $4 for this, and I bought it anyways, even though I could tell that it was incomplete. It's missing it's missing 2 pieces in here. It would have had 5. The handles would have actually, they would have been in there in the opposite direction so that they would have fit. And but it was in an old original box. These were kind of like hand scraper tools. Not in the best condition, but I just knew that there was a market for this. So $4 at an antique store, and I sold it within 2 weeks for right at $25 with $6 shipping. This came in a lot of other pieces that were all from like a vintage, I say vintage, a vintage era, probably from like the 40s through the 60s, like a watchmaker or somebody who worked on that, watches and clocks. And most of it was watch components, pocket watch components, but there were a few innards of larger clocks as well. Didn't really know what to do with it. It was just sort of an extra. I'd already made my money back on the lot, so I don't know exactly what I had into this, but it was probably $1 or less, based on the volume of things I got in the lot. And somebody actually snatched this up pretty fast. I think within 2 days, within 48 hours, somebody bought this. So clearly I had it undervalued. Usually when nobody offers me less and they buy it within 2 days, it's either perfectly priced or underpriced. But it was fine. I made my money on the lot before, so I didn't need to wait around to make more on it. This belt buckle came with an antique store buyout we did in February. We sold lots of things from there. We have still not actually made our money back. It was a large expense, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of items in that lot. But it just takes time. It just takes time. You can only list so many things in a day, in a week, and we have other things from other places coming in all the time as well. So, but we had thrown a bunch of these belt buckles up. We didn't even really research them a whole lot. Just threw them up for $10 a piece on auction, and a handful of them sold. This is an example, but we're in probably less than 50 cents on this if you look at the overall cost, probably even less than that. So I was happy to get rid of it, to be honest.
Okay, up next we have this lot of 3 vintage pipes. This was in a larger lot that I got at an estate sale. I paid $30 for the lot, and there were over 5, I think there were 7 pipes. And so anyway, this lot sold. I had it listed for $30, and I took best offer for $20. So that was a nice flip. The other 2 or 3 pipes that I sold each of those for about $15. Next, we have this 2002 Tonka Chuck and Friends Space Shuttle and Trailer. It's this little car. It looks big in the picture, but in actual size, it was, not very big at all, like 2 inches long by 2 inches wide or so, 2.5 inches long. And it sold for $9, and I don't know the exact price that we paid for it. It was in a larger lot of toys and cars that we bought at a thrift store. So, it's I'm sharing this with you because it just, again, it'll surprise you what just some smalls will go for. $9 isn't a big profit, but when you pay 20 cents maybe for something like that, and you turn it around for $9, that's something, So keep an eye out for certain toys, certain cars, especially like, vintage Tonka. Well, it's not really vintage, but for Tonka cars.
This is an antique, kind of picture here. It's by it's a Prussian Royal Rudolstadt. Not terribly familiar with it, but I thought it had a little bit of an attractive look. I didn't buy it individually. It came in that same thrift store buyout, but I'll show it to you here. It kind of had a little bit of a crackly glaze to it. Had the original lid. Not high end. You can see it's fairly faded there, but somebody who likes birds or maybe collects this particular type of stuff wanted it. And so I held on to it for a little while. I had it up as high as $50 to begin with. It didn't sell. Finally, I was like, I just want to move it. $14. It probably only cost about $8 or $9 to ship, so I made a little bit on that too. I wouldn't have bought that individually, based on a combination of the look of it and the brand. But if it had been a maker that was much more collectible, higher end, I'm not opposed to buying that kind of stuff. I just don't love to buy and sell ceramics, plates, glassware and stuff, because it takes a lot of time to package it. It can get broken easily, so we try to stick with smaller things usually. Again, some people are really into clothing. Some people want to just get on the sneaker trail and just sell the shoes. We're more about small items, antique items. That's just us. It works for us. This is another one of these pieces of jewelry that we found at an antique store. I think I paid $5 for this, and this was on a recent road trip sourcing expedition that some of us here at the warehouse did. And it was monogrammed. I say monogrammed, it just has the initials RPS. It's an old locket, pretty ornate. You can tell this is from the early 1900s, late 1800s. It's gold filled. On the inside, it's got a woman's face, someone's loved one there. And you can see that it is sterling silver base, but it is it's gold filled on the outside of it. And one kind of like obvious way to tell that, sometimes if you've handled it, and it just takes time, you've got to handle lots of jewelry to see this, but the way things tarnish a lot of times can tell you what type of metal it is. And you can see this kind of like almost like brownish, coppery-ish color up here, and this down here on the very bottom. That's indicative of things that are silver with a gold overlay a lot of times. Gold itself can tarnish slightly, but doesn't nearly tarnish like silver does. Silver turns super brown, can be terribly ugly. Also up here by the clasp, it also indicates that it's gold filled. That's a big reason why we buy silver pieces all the time for cheap, because people just think it looks bad. And all you need is they're called ultrasonic cleaners. You get a little container, you pour some cleaning solution in it, you drop it in there, you put on the timer 30 minutes or less, and you're going to pull that thing out and it's going to shine like the day that it was made. And you're going to up your sale amount on that item by quite a bit. I don't know what percentage we make more off of when we clean jewelry than when we don't, but it's over time it is significant. I don't always do that, but certain pieces, if you want them to buy it to wear and not just to scrap for the metal content, then it makes sense a lot of times to clean it. But again, a very small expense here, $48. That actually did better than I expected, and I wonder why. I wonder if it's because there was an actual, the original picture of the person was inside. I know there are collectors for that kind of thing, but anyhow. All right, this was a weird one. So we got this from a thrift store that we bought a bunch of stuff from, and it is like an original lithograph, which is kind of in the sepia color. It's kind of this wash. It's cool. It's got that early script, kind of handwriting script on there. This is engraving here. It was first published in 1774, although I imagine this particular one was made in the very late 1800s. Anyhow, I couldn't get it to sell. It was taking up space here. I finally dropped the price. I still had the shipping pretty high because I knew I had to buy a box. It was going to cost about $20 to $30 to ship it in to keep it safe. So I only made about $20 off of this. I would definitely do my research before buying something like that individually. It came with a big lot. But artwork, there's a big market for artwork. But artwork is also one of those, it can be a boom or bust. You can think, oh, this is going to sell, and you can only get $14 off of it. Other times you can get something and it can sell for several $100s, which that's a little bit of foreshadowing. We've got a nice piece of art to show you in a minute. This was such a cool lot. I was having a really rough day sourcing. By rough, I mean I just wasn't finding much. I was in a town that I'm not used to going to. I couldn't find anything of value. I was hitting these antique stores. Everything was high priced. Then I came across this one booth where it was clear they were trying to liquidate things, and they had a tub and it just said camera equipment, $10. And everything was wrapped up tight in bubble wrap. I couldn't hardly see, but it was heavy. There were several things. I'm like, I mean, I could just throw this up as a mystery tub on Facebook Marketplace and sell it for more than $10. So sure. So I bought it on a whim, and it turned out to have several hundreds of dollars worth of large camera and lens equipment in it. And this was just one piece out of probably 15 different larger components out of that tub, and it sold for $99. It took 2 weeks. This is like a little handheld controller thing that you would attach to the underside of a camera, like a video camera. This is probably like circa mid to late 90s was when this was made. I didn't know a whole lot about it, threw it up there, and it sold pretty quick. $100. So this one item, I've already made 10 times my money back on that tub, and I have 2 cameras that are worth between $400 and $700 each left from that lot. So I was very, very excited to get that. Oh, and here's another one. I didn't realize I had put these next to each other. This is another one. So this brand, Ingenue, which is a Parisian, I guess some sort of like a boutique Parisian camera equipment brand or lens brand. This lens was also in this. You can see it's made in France. It still has a number from how they number their equipment, I guess, in production, or not production, but I guess to have all of their equipment cataloged wherever this was and being used. But again, I threw it up. I did a little bit of research, threw it up, $102.50. It sold in one auction cycle, so $10 has turned into $202.50 off of just a couple of components in there. Was really happy to start seeing that stuff sell. It was a big surprise. It really was. We do this periodically. We're always buying jewelry, high-end costume jewelry, silver, gold pieces. Sometimes we get stuff that we know we can sell and make good money on it. Sometimes the silver, for example, that we get is probably really only worth about what people would pay for the scrap silver value. And so periodically, I would say at least once a month, we're taking pieces that we have purchased that didn't sell real well, or we don't think will sell real well, and we'll put them in a lot and we'll just sell them for scrap. So this is a really good example of kind of what you'd be looking at based on the gram weight. This is 127 grams sterling silver. It sold for $100. Oftentimes you're going to get about 75% of the gram weight. So if it's selling for, if it's 100 grams, you're going to be making about $75, sometimes a little bit more. But that's always what I have in my head. So if I buy something that I think is 10 grams, I'm only going to be able to make about $7.50 off of that if I have to sell it for scrap. So I need to be paying no more than $2 or $3 for that, so that I guarantee to make a profit. Here's another lot that I've done. This was more antique jewelry, and it's not as much. Well, I guess it's kind of in the jewelry category. It's really a pocket knife, cufflinks, and we've got some cool pieces here that have initials on them, but it's mostly a bunch of singles, as you can see. Rolled plate, that means it's gold plate. I think these two on the far right had like a 10 karat gold top. So all of these together probably cost me about $2, because several of these pieces I bought in jars of lots. They were singles, so I sold everything else, already made the money. I have nothing in them anymore. And it took a long time. I couldn't sell that pocket knife for some reason. I think because the blade was a little bit rusted. But it says gold filled on the end of it. And yeah, so $50. I was pretty happy with that. Somebody's either harvesting the gold, or maybe I don't know what, but I was pretty happy with that. It was a pretty good price.
Okay, next we have this Shopkins Happy Places Mermaid Tails dolls. They are Bellafly and Pearlina with some of their accessories. We sold this for $42. Picked it up in a larger lot of toys at a garage sale. So we're only in $10 total for that lot, right? And so, as far as how I'm going to price out what we actually paid for these things is a little difficult, but it's just almost straight up $40 in our pocket. Let's just say that. So look for Shopkins, older Shopkins, especially like these mermaids. So that could be a good flip for you. Okay, this next item here is this Ever After High doll stands accessories lot. We listed it for $79, took a best offer for $50. And this is what's wild is these accessories came in a much larger lot of Ever After dolls. We bought it maybe a little over a year ago, and spent little over maybe $120, $150 on a huge lot of Ever After High dolls. And just the dolls themselves, we made $700-800 plus on those Ever After High dolls. But we had these accessories and these extra, whether it be stands or they're just stands. The dolls can you could prop the dolls up on, and they didn't go with any of the dolls that we had sold. So we were sitting on these accessories lot and decided we're gonna sell them. We'll see what happens. Lotted them up, them out there, $50 on just the stands. So that right there, almost like I paid for like a third of what we paid for the whole entire lot. So really, really great flip on that.
This is a really cool sale that we had near my home on a Saturday. I was running an errand on my way back. I saw a sign for a yard sale. So I thought, well, sure, I'll stop and see what's going on here. Large house, lots of stuff, but not really anything I was that interested in until I found this. And it is an old, I don't know if it's meant to be a badminton racket or a tennis racket or some other racket of some kind, clearly. But you can see down here, it's all made of wood. I knew it was very old from the beginning. And then I found this emblem, and this emblem is for the FAO Schwarz toy store in New York City on Manhattan. And I looked it up. They have been around since around the 1850s, 1860s. This is from the 1800s. It was made to be, it's a smaller size. It was made as a toy or a child's piece of equipment. It still had the original kind of like gut strings, obviously in disrepair, but you can see how in my hand how small it is. About a little over 17 inches long. I paid $1 for it. $1, but I knew that somebody might want to collect this or find it interesting. It took me about 2 weeks to sell it, but it sold for $50 and $14 shipping. So it was a little bit of a risk, kind of, but $1, I mean, that's not hard to risk $1. This was another piece of jewelry that I bought at a thrift store for $3. It's a necklace here. You can see these kind of glass, kind of art glass beads. Some little gold looking flecks inside of it. Some silver look, but this brand is called Antica Marina, which I was not familiar with. But it was fairly collectible. They sell for decent amounts. And so sometimes they sell for in the $50, $60 range. This one, it took a little while. I kept lowering the price. Finally sold for $30. But for a $3 expense, I'm still pretty happy with that. This was actually a piece that I put together myself from a bunch of vintage jade beads that I came across in a buyout of a shop. And they were so beautiful. I knew that they were jade. It was pretty high quality jade, a really unique color. Very, very soft green color. And so what I did was I purchased 2 different gauge size of 14 karat gold beads. And because they were 2 different sizes of beads, they were graduated, a smaller size and then a larger. I got a pretty strong material for the thread, and I strung it up. So I actually restored this piece. This is not, I'm sure, how it originally would have been. But I had basically nothing into the beads, the jade themselves. The big beads came from a 14 karat gold necklace that had a pendant in those beads. I bought that. I took the beads off of it. I sold the chain and the pendant for more than I paid for it. So I basically had those beads then at that point for free. The only thing I had to purchase were these tiny gold beads. And I think I paid about $40 for all of those beads plus the clasp here at the end, which is also a 14 karat gold clasp. So, less than $50 in, you can see that, man, it's beautiful. It was hard to let go of it. It was a really great piece of jewelry. I don't wear jewelry like this, but It was really cool. But I was happy to see that get some fruits of my labor, because it really was labor. $400, and so I was happy with that. It went to somebody. I was able to restore something, move it forwards, and maybe somebody has something nice that they can wear now. This is what they call a hen on a nest, and they make these in the various colors. There's various colors of them. This is more what they would call an amber color. This came in a thrift store buyout. I had less than $1 in this. Sold for $16, $12 shipping. And then last up here, we've got this painting, which I bought on eBay. I saw that it was being undervalued. I purchased it. I spent, it was either $300 or $330 on it. And I took a best offer for $600. So I made $250 after fees and expenses and everything. But it's a really nice piece. I believe it's English. It's one of those British schools. It could have been an American school, but I think it's British. I believe it's late 1800s. You can see the brushwork here. It's quite nice. There's definitely some crackling, just based on kind of the style of it. But at the bottom, it was signed, and it says 87, which I believe is 1879, I believe is what it says. And it looks like a C right here, a C, and then some sort of other letter that goes around like this. So it's kind of like it comes around like this, up, over, down, and around. Almost like an L, C, and an S maybe? I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. I did a lot of research. Couldn't find out who the artist was. And you can see again on the back a couple of things that are indicative of an older piece. The sides, let me go back here. It doesn't have mitered ends, okay, so that's indicative of an older piece. It has these wooden keys that you hammer in to stretch it. The canvas itself is terribly dark and stained, with some stains with like the oil kind of bleeding through, and then you have writing on the back. All of these things indicate, frankly, a European piece that is, probably at the very earliest, early 1900s, but likely 1800s or earlier. You can see 70, I guess I could still be an 8, but 79 at least. And then here it is. It's an S, L, I guess, and a C. So somebody might have known who this was. Maybe this was worth multiple thousands of dollars, and I got, just because of my lack of knowledge, I made money. It's not that I didn't make money, but I hate it whenever I let go of a piece that I didn't fully understand. But that is the nature of the job. Sometimes that's how it goes. But art, folks, can work well. You can buy art on eBay and then turn around and sell it and make money on eBay. I do it every year, multiple pieces. I've sold, it is, right now it's in the middle of August, towards the end of August. And this year alone, I think I've sold 6 or 7 oil paintings, antique oil paintings, all except for one, I purchased on eBay and then sold on eBay for $100 or more profit. So I wouldn't recommend getting into that unless you have a good grasp of art, art history, art techniques, and also what the market is doing. But it's fun. It's something I love a lot. Artwork, musical instruments, and jewelry, I would say, are the things that I know the most about. But and so I'm always looking for it. Anyhow, folks, I hope that helps. Thank you for sticking around and seeing some of the things that are coming through the warehouse. We have a bunch more to do this next week, so look for another one. And we also are scheming on possibly creating either our own website or something like a private Facebook page, so that we can start bringing items that we have directly to you, interested people who see us on YouTube, instead of going through eBay, for example, where we primarily sell. If you come and check out our things and find things you want to buy, since we don't have to give fees to eBay to sell through there, we can potentially make more money ourselves and also provide something to you at a lower cost than it would cost you on eBay. So it could be a win-win. So look for maybe more info on that coming up soon. But in the meantime, good luck to you. I hope you find some treasures and have a great time. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.